community call. We'll give it a few more minutes for people to pour in. Meanwhile, we'll show like a nice little animation on what Enzyme is capable of. It will allow people to find the right link and join the call. It's always a last minute thing for many people.
All right, let's see who's here so far. We got David, Laurent in the house, DMF, Eek, Gordo. Gordo, how are you doing? The OG of Enzyme. Let's see, Hadi's here, Hanser Kettich, Hugh, Jeremy Larson, Luca Mussini. Let's see, Margarita. Awesome. So I'm, since it is getting recorded, perhaps we're going to get started with some of the basics. Everything's good?
Yeah, we can get going. That's good.
Awesome. Well, guys, welcome back to the ever so often Enzyme community call. We're back with the original trio here, Mona, the leader, and GL and myself, who are the community representatives still as of this year. And so we're excited to be back. A lot has been happening, obviously, in the crypto space. It's been a pretty busy, not just 2021 on the upside, but 2022 has been a stress test to say the least. But it's great to see that Enzyme weathered it all, and we're here and stronger than ever. And so we're going to review a lot of that. So before we get going, for those that are new, those that are seeing Enzyme for the first time, what is Enzyme itself? Enzyme is the leading on-chain asset management protocol. So what you can imagine on that, if you want to, start like an actively managed hedge fund, an index fund, or some automated strategy via Vault, or maybe you run a DAO that wants to manage its assets on-chain, Enzyme's right for you. It's the ideal place to be able to tap into all the different DeFi tools out there. We've got dozens of DeFi tools that are integrated, from the OGs like, Uniswap and lending and borrowing to staking. Pretty much every tool you could imagine on-chain can be accessed via DeFi. And it's all done transparently, non-custodially, meaning the asset manager cannot run off with the assets, and it is available 24/7. So no more monthly reconciliations. Every investor can see it every single day. Right, and here is a list of all the different protocols we've integrated. Since our last call, we've actually integrated a few more, such as, for example, Maple Finance, everything from Aave, Compound, Convex, Curve, Idle, Maple, Paraswap, Synthetics, Uniswap, both V2 and V3, Unslashed, 0x protocol for limit orders, and then Urine Vaults, along with a few new ones or ones that are on hold like Fuse and Votium. Now, also, why does it matter for people that want to invest? Well, unlike the traditional world where there's a lot of opacity when it comes to investing, as an investor in an Enzyme fund, You have the transparency. You can see exactly what is the vault holding. You can see, what are all the transactions being made, how many investors are in there. And there's even rule sets where you can say, hey, this vault manager has certain parameters that they have to work within, right? And so they can't simply go outside of those parameters. And that's hard coded by, smart contracts. And furthermore, in the recent year, Enzyme has really found its niche in being a treasury management tool for DAOs and companies, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. There was a few big names that have worked with Enzyme that have been huge contributors to the TVL. But what makes Enzyme so perfect for DAOs is that, with DAOs, you can already work with Gnosis Safe, but the great thing is you can actually use Gnosis Safe in companion with Enzyme. So that way, a DAO could delegate the trading, right? You can have those programmable risk parameters where the community members know, the people in charge of the DAO, the ones with the actual voting rights, they're not simply, going to ape it into some, risky yield strategy, but it's only within the parameters of the DAO. And it actually enables them to monetize and make the DAO more capital efficient. There's many DAOs out there now with 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures in actual assets just sitting in wallets, and that could be ETH, that could be stablecoin. And so being able to use, Enzyme enables you to earn some yield on it, whether that's staking ETH, for example, whether that's creating pools like ETH USDC and so forth. And as mentioned, everything is available via Gnosis Safe, so it can be, fully on-chain governed.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll talk about some of the few features that were released with Sulu. So Sulu was the V4 of Enzyme that went live earlier this year, both on Ethereum and Polygon. So also now for people who are a bit more price conscious for the transaction fees, we offer a great solution where you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to set up a secure vault, but you can do it really, really cheap. We have a bunch of new features here with Sulu, including like borrowing, like Felix said. Suddenly you have a lot more capabilities for managing your treasury, like you can use it as collateral in Aave or Compound. Take, for example, stablecoin loan and go farm on Convex, Uniswap V3 or Maple or other platforms. Another big innovation was the gas relayer. This is a solution where the transaction fees for all trades in a fund are paid from within the fund itself and not from the wallet of the vault manager. So you can now share all the costs automatically with the people in the vault. And a very cool feature as well is transferable shares, meaning you can now have these secondary markets for your Enzyme fund LP tokens. So instead of just being able to deposit funds into Enzyme Vault directly, you can now also send these Vault tokens to investors or other people and create secondary markets for it. So you could have some really cool solutions built with this functionality. As Sandal, the UI also got revamped quite heavily. So now there's a dashboard for each DeFi integration. So there's over, I think 15 now that have their separate dashboard where you can see all the necessary risk parameters like the APY and other aspects you might be interested in. And recently, we also enabled a white labeling service. We'll touch about that later a bit more, but it opens up a lot more customizability for vault managers, how they want to label and brand their vault. So yeah, maybe Felix, I can pass it back to you to tell us a bit about the growth in the past few months.
Yes, sir. So, it goes without saying that the last few months for the crypto space have been, challenging to say the least. We've had perhaps the longest string of insolvencies, everything from, Celsius, Voyager, 3 Arrows. Not to say the least, Enzyme, when we've normalized it in terms of Ethereum, we've actually continued to grow throughout this period. And even it's particularly when we look at, the competitors, platforms like DHedge, platforms like Set, we're still seeing traction at multiples of those. And it's worth mentioning that, at the time, at the peak of Enzyme TVL in dollar terms, 2 of our biggest, users were both Celsius and Unslashed. While Unslashed still doing fine, one of the biggest services was, for example, PEG insurance for UST, and Celsius, of course, faced insolvency. So despite, a temporary setback for some of our power users, Enzyme still growing in ETH terms. It is still by multiple factors larger than any number 2 or 3. And so, I think that is quite promising, especially now that, we are, 2 years into DeFi and we're continuing to see this growth. I remember when I first, got involved in Enzyme, we were just growing from 200K TVL to 800K TVL. And so now sitting at above 50 million, I think is still a major leap forward, given the fact it's only been 2 years. And ironically enough, the price of Ethereum and Bitcoin isn't that much different right now as it was back then. So, when you look at the normalized growth, we're actually very close to, all-time high, so to say. And yeah, here's it in dollar terms, right? So on the Ethereum platform, we've got about 52 million. And then on Polygon, it's also grown to over 1 million so far. And so, that probably puts us at, at the very minimum, sometime mid-2021 levels.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that update. We'll also cover some of the news that happened in the Enzyme ecosystem. So we have a bunch of things lined up. The first being that there's an update for the Enzyme trading bot to accommodate Sulu. So there's a really nice blog post where you can find a step-by-step tutorial how to set up such a trading bot. This one, for example, uses a Uniswap V3 method to actively manage positions. And it's a great way if you want to get involved into algorithmic trading and you want to try it out in Enzyme. You can get started with it today. It's fully functional. You will need a bit of technical skills, but it's pretty well documented. So if you want to try it out, go ahead. All info is in the blog post. One other aspect is the white labeling functionality. So that was developed by Avant-Garde Finance, where fund managers now have a lot more functionality. They can set up their own custom landing page for their funds, where you can change the colors, change titles, etc., to really fit it in with your brand. So even if you want to embed it in your own website, that's possible. So definitely also check that out if you would be interested in it. If you want to provide a more custom solution for any of your investors, this could be a great way to do that. We also have a bunch of grant proposals up for voting. For instance, one that already is one by Messari, and we have commissioned a coverage report through the Messari protocol service, which will be distributed for free, both on Messari, the website, and to about 230,000 of their newsletter subscribers. So it's without saying Messari is one of the leading analytical firms in the blockchain space. They put out great research reports. So we're very happy to be included in their next reports. There's also Exponent AI, which has requested a grant to build an AMM LP staking mechanism to automatically compound rewards built on top of Enzyme. So that's also upcoming. We'll provide a lot more functionality for vault managers to automatically get better return on their assets. And finally, we have a proposal by Avant-Garde to renew their role as lead developer for the next 3 years. And we have Mona from Avant-Garde on the call as well, who will walk us some of these aspects of the roadmap for the next year or so. Another big thing is an election that's live for Enzyme User Representatives. So like Felix said, both him and myself has been the Enzyme User Representative since the early days of when it was still called Melon. So we started out while the TVL was very, very low. And we now came to a point that it would be good to bring on other people as well, who might have bigger funds and are more representative for the average user of Enzyme. So any fund that is eligible for this, so meaning the fund has had and total assets under management which are higher than 25 basis points of the total Enzyme TVL, they can apply for it using the Enzyme interface. So you can go to your accounts page, and there you can, for instance, fill in this form and automatically put up your application. So if you want to do so, you still have time. The voting ends, I think, September 12th or maybe 14th. I'm not exactly sure. What I'm sure of is that the 15th, the results will be published. So then we will know who the two new user representatives are. And these persons will be responsible for helping relaying feedback from users to the team and generally keeping an eye on the ecosystem. So let us know if you want to contribute and we'll help you set up on that. And I'll pass it over to Connor from Avantgarde.
Yeah, thanks, Jill, and hi, everyone. So earlier this year, we ran an Enzyme meetup in partnership with Credo and Aave in London. We had about 80 attendees, over 100 registrants, and you can see on your screen here from some pretty impressive companies, both inside the crypto space and in the wider sort of financial services and tech space. The Enzyme meetups are something that we'll do a lot more frequently, so you can follow us up on our meetup page. If you want to stay on top of when we'll be hosting new events, we'll probably have one scheduled for either Q3 or Q4 this year. Yeah, we'd love to see you there. So come on down. Cool. And we've also released a Treasury Dilemma report a few months ago. So as Felix mentioned earlier on the call, Enzyme is increasingly being used as a treasury management solution for DAOs. So this report sort of dives into that topic in more detail, I guess looking at the inefficiencies in the marketplace at the moment, where DAO tooling is lacking and how Enzyme can sort of plug in and serve as that one-stop solution with programmable risk management features and a whole bunch of other aspects that make managing a treasury for a DAO, a lot more efficient, safe, trustless, etc. You can visit the link at the bottom of your screen there if you want to download the report. It's completely free and it's worth having a read if you're interested in DAO treasuries or how Enzyme actually functions as a DAO treasury management solution. Yeah,
thanks for that, Connor. I think we can continue and ask Mona on stage. Hi, Mona, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm good, thanks.
Perfect. Yeah, it would be great if you can give us a small refresher on the changes of the tokenomics that happened with Sulu and talk a bit more about what's coming for Enzyme.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the main change with Sulu is that we moved from a one-off setup fee to an a flat assets under management fee, which was widely kind of driven by community proposals. And the way it works now is that funds will pay a net 25 basis point fee on AUM. So all vaults will pay 25, all vaults on V4 will pay 25 basis points. But the way it's designed in the system is that initially you'll be paying 50 basis points and that will be taken as shares in your vault. But if you buy back those shares in your vault, you can get them at a 50% discount. So the effective fee is 25 basis points. And that also creates a utility for MLN, as well as a token sync. Just as a reminder, so actually on the second thing, maybe just to stay on that, is that it also encourages, hopefully we hope that it encourages vaults to hold a small long position in MLN to anticipate the fees. So it creates a hold, a burn, and a utility for the token. As part of phase 2, we're also starting to earn a little bit of rewards from referral fee programs. Those are not particularly substantial at this point, but we assume that they will grow over time, and we will also try to find a way to stream those fees into value accrual for MLN token as well. Just as a reminder, the MLN token is something that users pay, and the fee, the utility of the token is what gives it value. So as AUM increases now, this should be a direct value accrual to the token, which is also what keeps the protocol secure, what keeps developers incentivized, and what keeps the ecosystem healthy over time. And so on the other side of it, if you're a developer or if you're a team, that wants to build or propose anything on top of Enzyme, you can make a proposal via GitHub, and you can lay out your arguments and what you want the grant for, and you can also earn MLN that way.
Okay, cool. I think this brings us to the next topic of the Melon token burn.
So this is actually some exciting news. At the end of each year, actually for us, the year end was in March. We calculate all the accounts for what was spent from the 300,000 MLN mint. And last year, we just finalized accounts, and we determined that there was 54,669 MLN tokens left over that were not spent from the 2021-2022 year. So as of, I think, 2-3 hours ago, these tokens have now been burnt, which leads to a total number of tokens burnt since inception of, I think it's well over 300,000 MLN. I can't remember the exact number from memory. But tomorrow we will be publishing a blog post with, which I know has been in big demand. It was actually, this blog post is a direct product of community kind of demanding it. But we've tried to summarize tokenomics, governance, and everything in one place, so that there's one go-to place now where you can just find the most up-to-date information. And in there we'll also have a link where you can track the live MLN that has been burnt to date, whether that's fees or council burning, etc. And I think the link is linked there, but tomorrow you'll have a blog post where you can just interact with the link directly. Cool. So that brings me to the roadmap. So I'm actually just going to talk about the very short-term roadmap for the next 2-3 months and what you can expect, because we're still speccing out V5 requirements based on user feedback from V4. So if you have been a big user of V4 and haven't given us your feedback, now is actually a great time. But the things we're focused on is growing AUM by targeting new use cases. We're researching deployments to new networks. We're working on it's written referral program, but we're actually probably going to call it an ambassador program, which we'll be publishing more on very soon. And in terms of integrations to third-party protocols and new features, the things you can expect in the very short term are an integration with Goldfinch, Fidu, the senior tranche, which has very nice yield opportunities. You can expect hopefully an integration with Open if it makes it into the next audit. We'll also be we've also been working on making 0x limit orders available to users. I know that this has been one of the most popular features requested on the Canny board in the past. We're hoping to make notional finance available, solve protocol convertibles, and a nice selection of balancer pools. In terms of a new feature also that's going live soon, we will be, at the moment, when you kind of configure your management and performance fees or entrance exit fees, you get to choose one address which these go to. In the very near future, you're going to actually be able to split fees across different addresses and percentages that you predetermine. So if you're a team of managers, or if you're a team of, if you're partnering with someone, you can actually decide upfront a split of fees and code that into the contract so that it's all handled automatically. So that's, I think you can expect all of that within the next 3 to 4 months. And then we'll be, hopefully by then we'll have had another community call where we can give you more updates on the next integrations, features, and V5 kind of spec by then.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mona. Really exciting. And on the topic of providing your feedback, we do have a Kenny page. So if you go to enzyme.kenny.io, you can put in feature requests. So this is actively being monitored by the Enzyme team and the Enzyme developers to prioritize which features are going to be developed first. So some of these are already complete, like the Unicell P3 integration, etc. As well as like launching on Polygon, also known as Matic. So if you have anything you would really like to see added in Enzyme or something that's holding you back from using it right now, just put it in the enzymekenny.io webpage, and like the developers will have a look at it and will see what is in high demand and prioritize that. So yeah, really excited about what's coming in the next few months with Enzyme. There's a lot of infrastructure being built, and I think it's now just a matter of finding the right users to really make the most of it. So, which brings me to our Q&A section. I'm not sure if anyone would either like to come on stage to ask a question or put a question in the chat. We're happy to answer anything that might have come up during the presentation or unrelated questions as well. So I'm not sure if anybody has some questions, just drop them in the chat. You can also go to the Discord, so discord.enzyme.finance, or to the Telegram channel and ask your questions directly there to the developers. We're always happy to help. Okay, we have a first question coming in. It's by GNBY. Regarding the plan staking for MLN, would it be delegated proof of stake so that validators can support the protocol? I think this relates to one item on the phase 2 of the Melon Tokenomics. Maybe to give a caveat that those things are definitely not set in stone, but maybe Mona can provide some more information on that.
Yeah, just to be clear, I think phase 2 is just conceptual right now. We haven't actually implemented that or voted on that at a council level. But the general idea is that we want to find a way to distribute the referral fees back to either MLN token holders or to accrue the value of those tokens somehow to MLN. So that's still a research in progress. And to be honest, the fees that have been accrued so far are not very material. So it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time on that right now. But I think as soon as we start to hit any serious numbers, that will definitely become a priority, how to figure out what to do with those fees. It's just a general direction and something that we've been thinking about since that we have started to see 2 or 3 protocols now trigger these referral programs, and we are eligible for them. So as AUM grows, the fees and those, if those protocols are being used, that pool of fees should grow.
Yeah, exactly. And we even could use just like Enzyme itself for it, right? In theory, you could set up like a vault denominated in MLN, for example, where the rewards would be sent in. And if people join it with MLN, they can withdraw more, for example, just like a quick napkin schematic. So we have one more question here about the networks that might be taken into consideration for deploying on. So Mona, I'm not sure if there's like any of the layer 2 or layer 1 networks that come to mind.
Sorry, is this the question about the asset universe or layer 1?
No, there's one. Yeah, like what are priority networks you want to deploy on by GD?
I missed that, sorry. Yeah. Well, at the moment, we're just researching the various chains. I know, for example, we've looked at Moonbeam, Ankala, Aurora, like a lot of the EVM compatible ones. And the idea there is just trying to deploy contracts and run stress tests to see whether things like the gas limits are preventative, or if there's anything that causes any contracts to fail. We're still in the process of, we're also, I should also say that's the smart contract side. But then on the flip side, we're also looking into what's the asset universe, what are the DeFi opportunities, because if they're not interesting enough, then it's also, there isn't really much point in deploying an asset management protocol to a layer 2 if there isn't much to manage, many interesting opportunities to manage. So we're kind of still in the research process there. I would say that if you're very hot on using Enzyme, but it has to be on a specific chain, to get in touch with us and tell us why. It really helps when we have good business justification for doing something rather than just deploying to a chain for the sake of it. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there.
That makes a lot of sense. So there's indeed also a question by Hadi Nimati. Is there a way to expand the universe of assets more frequently? For this, maybe I can also already quickly comment. So about 2 weeks ago, a bunch of new assets got added, like Ocean, SNX, FXC, PEXG, Gnosis, and on Polygon also some, including EURT, TUSD, PEX, and PEXG. So the universe is being expanded, but for that, there needs to be a high quality price feed to be able to add them to Enzyme. So that can be like a Chainlink price feed or another high quality oracle. And those assets are also always vetted by the council. So it's not just that any asset gets added on there. Like first there's a security check to see that it wouldn't break any of the integrations or has any potential unforeseen flaws. So I think that's one of the aspects that does slow the speed a bit to make sure everything is like ultra safe and secure for people using Enzyme. I'm not sure, Mona, if you want to add something to that or take one of the other questions.
Yeah, I would just add that actually, if there's any specific assets you want to see added, to just reiterate them to us if we're not already aware of them. Because actually it is becoming easier and easier to add assets, and we are acutely aware of the fact that there's a lot of demand for assets that are outside the Chainlink universe. We have actually, I didn't mention it in the features or the roadmap, but we do also have a way now of adding assets that are not supported by Chainlink, but it is non-trivial, and it does compromise certain trust assumptions, which is something Gilles kind of touched on. So we're sort of still thinking about how that should be handled. Probably not in a publicly available vault, because you really have to trust the provider of that third price feed. So there is a way, and we can discuss it further with people who are interested, but it does come with some trade-offs. And I saw the next question, I think also from Hadi. Will there be any improvement on adding more pools from Convex and Curve? I think there are already Convex and Curve pools in the queue to be added. If there are any, again, specific ones that you want, please write to us and tell us what they are specifically, because that helps us prioritize. And I think kind of related, see another question from Gordo. Hi, Gordo. Did the idea of a limitless asset universe get scrapped for V5? No, that's definitely one of the features we want to include in V5, but we're actually finding that there might be a way to increase assets in V4 through a kind of innovative way, and we're still kind of experimenting with that a little bit, but it might not be necessary to wait for V5. So again, if there are specific assets you're looking for that we don't already have, let us know what they are, let us know what the use case is, and we'll see if we can find a way to onboard you. But as I said, it's not very trivial yet, or we haven't found a way to make it very trivial, and we're still working a few kinks out. So it's not something you can expect like overnight, but it's probably something you can expect sooner than later.
Okay, very nice. I think that answered most of the questions. In any case, like in case you still have some questions when you watch this recording or when you like are using Enzyme more and you want to provide some feedback or just ask a question, please don't hesitate to contact us either through Telegram or the Discord. Like we're happy to help and talk to you guys, like see what is needed, what do you want, what assets do you want added, like what integrations do you need, etc. So yeah, really excited to gather that feedback.
Maybe just worth taking that last question because I think it's quite a good one.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me repeat. So what does it need in your perspective that, for example, MakerDAO would use Enzyme for their DAO treasury management instead of US treasury bonds or other solutions? So that is a good question. Mona?
Yeah, I mean, I can comment on that. I think that's a great question. I don't know is the simple answer, but it's definitely something that I think we should be looking into. I think Enzyme has a lot of qualities that that MakerDAO can benefit from on their treasury management. I haven't dug too deep into that specific case and why they opted for US Treasury bonds. But I think if we launch the ambassador referral program soon, there's a very high there's a good incentive for people in the community to kind of work that out and try and figure out what we need to do, what steps we need to take to get in front of Maker in a serious way. But I think from a technical perspective, and we have all the qualities that they would and should need. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Gian.
No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe for not specifically MakerDAO, but some other DAOs or like let's say big DeFi protocols that have a bunch of funds there, or just thinking about. So the past few months there were also some situations, for instance, the whole situation with Sifu, for example, who managed a big treasury, which wasn't always that transparent. So you have oftentimes rather big organizations who like to think of themselves as decentralized, but essentially sometimes the management of the funds just is in the hands of like one or two people or like a very small multisig. Without the actual users of the platform knowing much what's going on. So I think that's also somewhere where Enzyme can bring a lot of value, to have like this real-time accounting to show what's going on and have these risk profiles configured so people cannot just ape into like one crazy token with the full balance, for example, or buy some useless assets or all kinds of crazy stuff that happens, or even just sending the funds to people's personal accounts. So things like that are not possible with Enzyme, or they are very transparently labeled as such. So I think that's a pretty good use case as well to increase transparency. And there is also coming from the community should be asking for these type of things. So if you're in an organization and your money is deposited there, but you don't know what's going on with it, that's typically not a very good sign. So I would also encourage people just to ask for that transparency and ask for accountability for any project they're involved with themselves personally. Yeah, not sure there's still any closing thoughts. Otherwise, I think we're good to wrap up this call. So yeah, thanks Gordo and GMBY. See you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. Yeah, see you later.
Cool. Thanks, guys.